In the heart of Egypt, a young archaeologist named Maya stumbled upon something incredible. She had spent years working on her research, studying the ancient pyramids and other relics of Egypt's forgotten past. But nothing could prepare her for what she would find on her latest dig. Maya and her team were deep inside an unexplored chamber in a pyramid, one that had never been touched by human hands for thousands of years. As the dust settled around them, the walls seemed to whisper a forgotten language, filled with strange symbols and pictures. Maya carefully examined the walls, trying to make sense of the strange markings. Something caught her eye, an image that repeated itself over and over again. It wasn't a typical scene of pharaohs or gods. No, this was different. The message was simple but chilling. They're guarding something worse. The strange thing was, this wasn't just one wall. The same message appeared again and again in different ancient languages: Sumerian, Greek, Egyptian, even in the ancient text of the Mayans. Maya felt a cold chill run down her spine. How could these completely different civilizations, separated by centuries and oceans, all leave the exact same warning? Curiosity burned in her. Maya immediately sent the photos back to her team and the world's leading experts. The message spread like wildfire across the archaeology community. Experts came from all corners of the earth, each one bringing new theories. But no one could explain what something worse could possibly be. Was it a weapon? A creature? Or something beyond their understanding? Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she had uncovered something far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. She spent sleepless nights researching ancient texts, scouring every record she could find. Slowly, a horrifying picture began to take shape. The warning wasn't just a message, it was a map. A map leading to something hidden beneath the surface of the earth. The ancient civilizations had known about it, and they had gone to great lengths to keep it buried. But what exactly was buried under earth? And why had every civilization worked together to keep it secret? Maya reached out to a renowned geologist, Dr. Ivan, who had studied the Earth's core. After weeks of research, they discovered something shocking. There were odd patterns beneath the surface. Signs of ancient structures deep in the Earth's crust, in what appeared to be a massive chamber, large enough to hold something. Or someone. Maya felt a sense of dread. She had found the location of the chamber. But it was located in the middle of the Sahara Desert, where the Earth's tectonic plates were most unstable. No one had ventured there before. It was as if the Earth itself was keeping something hidden. Maya and her team set out for the Sahara Desert, not knowing what they would find. As they arrived, the heat was unbearable, and the vast emptiness of the desert only added to the feeling of isolation. But Maya's mind was focused on one thing: uncovering the truth behind the ancient warning. The further they dug, the stranger things became. The temperature inside the ground seemed to drop despite the scorching heat above. And with every layer of earth they cut through, they uncovered strange symbols that matched the ones Maya had seen back in the pyramid. It was clear they were getting closer to whatever had been sealed away for so long. Then, as they reached a depth of 100 meters, something strange happened. The ground shook. At first, Maya thought it was just an earthquake, but the tremors were too regular, too controlled. And then, they heard it, the sound of something moving beneath them, something old, something powerful. The ground cracked open, revealing a massive stone door, covered in the same strange symbols. It was ancient, unlike anything Maya had ever seen before. As she and her team carefully examined the door, they realized that it wasn't meant to open by force. It was meant to be unlocked by something. But what? Maya's heart raced as she recalled the last part of the message from the ancient pyramid. They're guarding something worse. What could it be? What had been locked away for so long? And why had the civilizations of the world gone to such extremes to protect it? Before Maya could even make a decision, a dark, ominous cloud appeared in the sky. The wind began to howl, and the temperature dropped sharply. It was as if the earth itself was reacting to the unlocking of the chamber. The team began to panic. The air felt heavy, almost alive, as if something was awakening. The doors slowly creaked open, and as the darkness inside the chamber was revealed, Maya took a step back. In the pitch-black depths of the chamber, there was a feeling of pure malice, a presence that made the hairs on her neck stand on end. Something was inside, something that had been waiting for thousands of years. But what? Suddenly, the ground shook again, this time more violently. The air was filled with an unnatural hum, and a low growl echoed from deep within the chamber. Maya knew they had crossed a line. The world would never be the same again. AAS. The door creaked open further. The ancient warning echoed in her mind. They're guarding something worse. What Maya didn't realize was that she had just set free something more terrifying than anything humanity had ever known. The truth behind the warning was far darker than she had ever imagined, and the worst was only just beginning. In the year 2075, the first team of astronauts set foot on the moon in over 100 years. It was meant to be a simple mission: gather samples, study the surface, and return to Earth. But when Captain Sarah Williams and her crew arrived, they found something that would change everything. While exploring a hidden cave near the moon's south pole, the team uncovered something unusual, a strange metallic object half buried in the dust. It looked like an ancient relic, but nothing like anything humans had ever made. The object was smooth, shiny, and had symbols that seemed almost alive. They glowed faintly, like they were pulsing with energy. Captain Sarah's team was cautious. They took samples and photographs, sending everything back to Earth. As soon as they returned, experts from all over the world worked tirelessly to decode the symbols. After weeks of intense research, they found something chilling. Every symbol was linked to a phrase that kept appearing throughout ancient civilizations. They're guarding something worse. The phrase didn't make sense. Why would this strange object, found on the moon, connect to ancient messages from Earth? It wasn't just in one language or culture, it was in every civilization's myth. Sumerians, Egyptians, the Mayans, and even the ancient Greeks had all left warnings, speaking of something hidden beneath the earth. All of them told the same thing: there was something worse, something terrible, buried deep within the planet. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What was hidden under Earth? And why had every civilization left the same cryptic message? With no answers from the experts, she made a bold decision. She and her team would return to Earth, to the place where the real mystery seemed to begin, the core of the planet itself. The journey back was filled with anticipation. Sarah's team gathered all the information they could from the moon mission and quickly started planning their next move. They needed to find the truth, even if it meant risking everything. As they studied ancient records, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. The ancient civilizations didn't just warn about something, they had actively protected it, keeping it buried for thousands of years. But now, in the age of modern technology, that protection was fading. Earth's growing instability was shaking the foundations of the planet itself, and something was waking up. Sarah knew they had to act fast. If the warnings were true, whatever was buried beneath Earth was far too dangerous to leave unchecked. The team traveled to a remote location in Siberia. Experts believed that the area was a potential hotspot for finding the hidden chamber, and Sarah was willing to take any chance to find it. Days passed, and the team dug deeper. The further they went, the more the ground seemed to resist them. It was as if something was fighting back, pulling the earth together, keeping them from discovering the truth. But Sarah wasn't about to stop. She ordered the use of high-powered drilling equipment, and soon they had breached what seemed like a massive stone door buried deep beneath the ground. The door was unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't natural stone, but a kind of material that seemed to absorb light. The door itself had no visible markings, no inscriptions. But there was a strange energy that radiated from it, as though it was alive, aware of their presence. The closer they got, the more the air felt thick, oppressive. Then, with one final push, the door opened, revealing a vast chamber. Inside, the team found something that could only be described as a ruined structures of unknown design, covered in the same glowing symbols they had seen on the moon. But there was something else. In the center of the room, suspended in a cage of energy, was a sphere, pulsating with an eerie light dot. It wasn't just any sphere. This was the source of the energy. The object had been buried, hidden, and protected by every civilization for one reason: the sphere contained a power so dark, so immense, that it could reshape the world. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a monster. It was something much worse, something that could unravel reality itself. The team examined the sphere. An unexpected tremor shook the ground. The energy field around the sphere began to flicker, and for a moment, the room was filled with a strange hum. It felt like the very earth beneath their feet was breathing. Panic began to spread through the team. The sphere was waking up, and they had no idea how to stop it. Captain Sarah quickly ordered the team to back away, but it was too late. The ground shook violently, and a terrible, unearthly sound echoed through the chamber. The sphere's energy field expanded, and a wave of force sent them flying backward. The walls of the chamber began to crack, and strange lights flickered in the distance. Sarah barely managed to catch her breath as she looked up. The symbols on the walls were no longer glowing faintly. They were burning, alive with energy, and the once quiet chamber was now filled with an overwhelming power. In the chaos, Sarah made a horrifying realization. The warnings were not just about guarding the sphere, they were a warning about what would happen when it was awakened. The ancient civilizations had known that the sphere held something worse, something that no one, not even the greatest minds of history, could control. As the energy surged, the room began to collapse around them. Sarah and her team barely made it out in time, but the chamber had been destroyed, and the force that had been locked away for millennia was now free. The earth trembled as if the planet itself was waking up. As they stood outside, watching the dust settle, Sarah understood one thing: whatever had been beneath Earth was no longer contained. And the world would never be the same again. In a future where space exploration was a common part of life, humanity had spread across the stars. But no matter how far humans went, there was always one question they couldn't answer. What was Earth hiding? Dr. Ethan Hayes, a well-known scientist, had spent years studying the remains of ancient Earth civilizations. He had always believed that human history was far older and more complex than people realized. But when he uncovered a series of ancient texts from the lost city of Atlantis, he stumbled upon something that shook him to his core. Every single document spoke of the same cryptic message: they're guarding something worse. Ethan couldn't ignore it. This wasn't just a coincidence. The message had appeared in different languages, from the Mayans to the Egyptians, from the Sumerians to the Greeks. The warning was clear: something was hidden beneath the earth, and it was being guarded by a secret force, one that had existed for thousands of years. The more he researched, the more desperate his search became. There were no answers from the scholars, no explanations from the records. But one thing was certain: ancient civilizations had known about it, and they had taken extreme measures to protect it. They had built temples, hidden doors, and even created underground networks to keep it locked away. What was this something worse that they had hidden so carefully? Was it a creature? A weapon? Or something even more dangerous than anything they could imagine? Ethan couldn't stop himself from digging deeper. He pieced together clues from old ruins, ancient maps, and forgotten languages. All signs pointed to a hidden chamber beneath the Earth's surface, a place where the world's darkest secret had been buried. He assembled a team of experts, including archaeologists, geologists, and military personnel, to help him track down this secret. The team set off for a remote location in the mountains of Tibet, where seismic activity had revealed unusual patterns beneath the surface. Experts believed that if anything was hidden deep inside Earth, this would be the place. For weeks, they dug. The deeper they went, the more uneasy the team became. The Earth felt different here, strange, almost alive. The air grew thick, and the deeper they dug, the more the temperature began to drop, despite the heat of the surface. The feeling of unease grew stronger with every step. Then, after weeks of hard labor, they found it, a massive stone door, perfectly sealed, with no visible way to open it. The team stood before it in awe. The door was ancient, older than anything they had ever seen. It didn't belong to any known civilization. It was clear that the door had been designed to never be opened, to keep something locked away forever. But the message had been clear: the door had to be opened. Ethan's heart raced as he ordered the team to begin the process. They used advanced technology to scan the door, trying to find a way to open it. But nothing seemed to work. The door didn't respond to modern tools. It was as if it was waiting for something more. Days passed, and the team grew frustrated. But then, one night, as Ethan sat alone by the door, something strange happened. He noticed a faint glow beneath the stone. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was there. Ethan pressed his hand against the stone, and suddenly, the glow grew brighter. The door began to move, slowly at first, then faster, as if it were alive. The team rushed to his side as the stone door opened with a loud, echoing sound, revealing a vast, dark chamber. Inside, there was something that defied explanation. It was an ancient structure, unlike anything human civilization had ever built. Massive, shining pillars stretched to the ceiling, and the air was filled with a strange, low hum. The room felt alive, charged with an energy that made the team's skin crawl. At the center of the room was a large, floating object, something that looked like a crystal, but it radiated an energy that was almost overwhelming. It was the source of the hum, the thing that had been hidden away for so long. But what was it? Ethan and his team moved closer to the crystal. As they approached, they felt a sudden pull, a pressure in the air, as if the crystal were reaching out to them. It was then that they realized what they had found. This wasn't just a piece of ancient technology, it was a powerful, alien artifact. An artifact that had been buried for thousands of years to keep it hidden from the world. But it wasn't just the artifact that was terrifying, it was the energy it was giving off. It was dark, powerful, and filled with a sense of malevolence. Ethan could feel it in his bones. This was the something worse that the ancient civilizations had been guarding. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a creature. It was an ancient force, a force so powerful that it could tear apart the very fabric of reality. As Ethan reached out to touch the crystal, the room began to shake. The energy from the artifact surged, and the hum grew louder, more intense. The walls of the chamber began to crack, and the pillars around them began to crumble. The room was coming apart, and the artifact was reacting to their presence. Suddenly, a voice filled the air, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere, from the very walls themselves. It was ancient, powerful, and filled with warnings. The voice spoke in a language that Ethan couldn't understand, but the meaning was clear. The artifact had been sealed away for a reason. It was too dangerous to be unleashed. But it was already too late. The artifact was alive, and it had already begun to awaken. As the chamber collapsed around them, Ethan realized that they were no longer just uncovering history, they were witnessing the end of the world as they knew it. The something worse was not just a danger to humanity. It was a force that had been waiting for the right moment to return and reshape the universe itself. And now, that moment had come. In the distant future, humanity had stretched its reach to the stars, building colonies on distant planets and moons. Yet, no matter how far humanity expanded, Earth remained the center of attention. But hidden deep beneath the surface of Earth was a secret so terrifying that no one knew of its existence. Until now, Dr. Emily Carter, a leading physicist and expert on ancient technologies, had always been fascinated by Earth's past. But her passion for history had led her down a dark and dangerous path. She had uncovered strange anomalies in geological data that hinted at something buried deep within Earth. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. After years of research, she discovered old, fragmented texts from forgotten civilizations that described a force older than time itself, sealed away beneath Earth. A force so powerful, it could obliterate all life if ever released. The text spoke of an ancient defense system built by an unknown civilization long before humanity walked the earth. The system was designed to keep something imprisoned, something dark and dangerous. But the writings were cryptic, and no one had ever believed the warnings. Now, as Earth's climate continued to worsen and strange natural disasters ravaged the planet, Emily feared that the time had come to uncover what had been locked away. With the backing of her government, Emily assembled a team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel to investigate further. They traced the clues to an ancient buried city beneath the Arctic ice. According to the ancient texts, this was where the defense system had been built. No one had dared to go there before. The area had been declared a no-go zone, but now, desperate to find answers, Emily's team was ready to uncover the truth. The journey to the Arctic was treacherous. The freezing winds and vast ice sheets seemed endless. As they neared the location of the buried city, strange seismic activity started to occur, shaking the ground beneath them. It was as if the earth itself was warning them to turn back. But there was no turning back now. Emily's team pressed forward, their equipment struggling against the harsh conditions. As they dug into the ice, they discovered a massive, hidden structure, an enormous door, built from a metal unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was ancient, but still strong, undamaged by the centuries that had passed. It seemed to pulse with an energy that made the air around it feel thick, heavy. Despite the fear creeping up their spines, Emily knew they had to open it. The door held the key to understanding the Earth's last line of defense. They used every tool at their disposal, slowly chipping away at the door. Finally, with one final push, the door groaned open, revealing a vast underground chamber filled with strange machinery. The machinery was unlike anything they had seen, massive, intricate, and powered by an unknown energy source. But what caught their attention most was the large, floating sphere at the center of the chamber. It hummed with a quiet, menacing energy, its surface covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly. As they approached, the air grew colder, and the humming grew louder, almost as if the sphere was reacting to their presence. "This is it," Emily whispered. This is what they were protecting. The team gathered around, studying the sphere. It wasn't just a piece of technology, it was a sentient being. The sphere seemed to communicate with them, sending waves of thought and energy directly into their minds. The message was clear. The Earth's defense system wasn't just a weapon, it was the prison of something far worse. The sphere had been built to keep something contained, something ancient, something dangerous. But the defense system had begun to fail. The energy around the sphere was weakening, and Emily could feel the presence of whatever had been trapped there, stirring in the darkness. It had been imprisoned for millennia, but now its power was growing stronger. And if it were freed, it would be unstoppable. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled violently. The machinery in the room began to spark and shake, and the once quiet humming grew into a loud, terrifying roar. The sphere began to glow brighter, its energy surging. Emily's heart raced. The system was breaking down, and whatever had been trapped inside the sphere was waking up. "We need to stop it," Emily said, panic creeping into her voice. But as she reached out to touch the sphere, the energy it emitted became unbearable. A surge of power shot through the room, knocking everyone back. The temperature in the chamber plummeted, and the walls began to crack. The room shook violently, and a dark shadow seemed to rise from the sphere, taking shape. It was a massive, towering figure, something not of this world, something ancient and terrifying. The creature let out an earth-shattering roar that echoed through the chamber, shaking the very foundation of the planet. The team scrambled to escape, but the creature's presence was too strong. It was clear that whatever had been trapped inside Earth for centuries was now free, and it was angry. The Earth itself seemed to tremble as the creature stepped forward, its eyes glowing with rage. The defense system had failed, and Earth's last line of protection was no more. Emily knew they had to stop it before it was too late. But how could they defeat something so powerful, something that had been imprisoned by civilizations far older than humanity itself? They had only one option left. They had to use the very system that had trapped the creature in the first place. But it wasn't going to be easy. The team raced against time, working frantically to reactivate the ancient defense system. The creature was relentless, tearing through the underground chamber with terrifying speed. The ground shook with every step it took, and the team could feel the world around them beginning to break apart. With one final push, Emily activated the system. The sphere reacted, sending out a massive burst of energy that engulfed the creature. The roar of the creature turned to a scream as the energy from the sphere trapped it once again. The system was working, but not for long. The creature was too strong, and it wouldn't stay imprisoned for long. As the chamber collapsed around them, Emily and her team barely managed to escape, leaving behind a world on the edge of destruction. The defense system had done its job. Earth's last line of defense had held for now. But the battle was far from over. The creature was still out there, waiting, and it would be back. And when it returned, The Earth might not survive a second time. In the year 2003, humanity's exploration of deep space had revealed astonishing discoveries. Colonies were established on distant planets, but a nagging question still lingered in the back of every scientist's mind. What if something had been guarding Earth for centuries? Something that no one had ever noticed. Dr. Liam Archer, a brilliant but reclusive historian, had spent years researching ancient civilizations and their lost secrets. His obsession had always been one question: why had every civilization spoken of guardians protecting the Earth? The Egyptians, the Mayans, the Sumerians each left behind legends of mysterious protectors who kept something hidden. But hidden from what? Liam's search for answers led him to an ancient, undiscovered temple deep within the jungles of South America. Buried for centuries, it was known to only a handful of locals as a place of legend. But when he uncovered a hidden passage leading deeper into the temple, Liam knew that he was about to find something no one could have predicted. Something far darker than anyone had ever imagined. As Liam and his team ventured into the depths of the temple, they uncovered murals that depicted strange beings, guardians standing watch over a large, sealed door. The guardians were drawn with great care, their eyes glowing with an unearthly energy. But there was something else. A symbol was painted repeatedly, a symbol of a key, hidden within the folds of the guardians' robes. Was it a literal key? Or something far more symbolic? The deeper they went, the more unsettling things became. The air grew thicker, and the walls began to hum with a strange energy. It was as if the very ground they walked on was charged with something ancient, something alive. The closer they got to the door depicted in the murals, the more Liam felt an overwhelming sense of dread. There was a force at work here, something that was waiting to be disturbed. When they finally reached the door, Liam's heart raced. It wasn't just any door. It was covered in a thick, pulsating energy field that made the air feel heavy. This wasn't a normal barrier. This was something designed to keep people out. But why? What was behind it? Liam and his team worked day and night, using every tool at their disposal, but the door refused to budge. Days turned into weeks, and as they continued their efforts, strange things began to happen. The surrounding jungle started to wither and die. Animals disappeared. The sky seemed to grow darker, as if the earth itself was reacting to the door being disturbed. Then, one fateful night, a crack appeared in the energy field. The air vibrated with an otherworldly hum, and the door began to slowly open. But as it did, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble, and a deep guttural growl echoed through the air. Liam's team stepped back in fear. What had they done? What was behind the door? The door creaked open to reveal a massive underground chamber. It was cold and dark, filled with enormous statues of the Guardians, each holding an intricate weapon and standing vigil. But there was something even more chilling at the center of the room. A massive, glowing crystal, pulsating with an eerie, red light. It was as if the crystal itself was alive, its energy so intense that it made their skin tingle. Liam stepped forward cautiously, his breath shallow. He knew they had uncovered something far beyond their understanding. But the question that plagued him now was, what were these guardians protecting? As he reached out to touch the crystal, a voice echoed through the chamber, a voice not of this world. It was ancient, and it spoke a language that Liam couldn't comprehend. But the meaning was unmistakable. The Guardians had been tasked with keeping the crystal safe. It wasn't just a powerful energy source. It was something far more dangerous. The crystal held the key to awakening an ancient force that could destroy everything. It was a weapon, a power so destructive that it had been buried beneath the earth, locked away by the very guardians who had died to protect it. But now, with the door open and the crystal exposed, the guardians' protection had ended. The ancient force that had been sealed away was awakening. The ground began to tremble violently as the crystal's energy surged, sending waves of destructive power throughout the chamber. The statues of the guardians began to crack, their once strong forms now crumbling as if they were being consumed by the energy. Liam realized, too late, that they had made a terrible mistake. The guardians were no longer watching over the crystal, they were long gone. And the power of the crystal was beginning to escape, ready to destroy everything in its path. Suddenly, the chamber was filled with a blinding light as the crystal's power reached its peak. Liam and his team were thrown to the ground, their ears ringing with a deafening roar. The air grew thick with energy, and the walls of the chamber began to collapse around them. The very earth seemed to be tearing apart, as if it could no longer contain the power that had been hidden for so long. Liam fought to stand, his mind racing. They had to escape before it was too late, but as the light began to fade, he realized something that chilled him to the bone. The crystal hadn't just been a weapon, it was a prison. And now, with the Guardians gone, it was breaking free. With a final, heart-stopping roar, the chamber collapsed, and the ground swallowed them whole. Liam's team managed to escape, but the world above them was already changing. The crystal's energy had seeped into the Earth's core, triggering massive earthquakes and storms that threatened to tear the planet apart. Whatever had been locked away was no longer contained. The forgotten Guardians had failed. The message was clear: humanity had uncovered something far worse than they could imagine. And now, the Earth's darkest secret was unleashed.